Imagine drifting on a calm river, sunlight dancing on the surface, and in the middle of that shimmering water, two tiny paws holding each other, refusing to let go. Not humans, not lovers in a movie, but two otters, while holding hands. And today, you're about to discover why this simple gesture is one of the most extraordinary behaviors nature ever created. Stay with me, because every minute of this story reveals something deeper, stranger, and more magical than the moment before. They don't do it for cuteness. They don't do it for attention. They do it for survival, loyalty, and a bond that scientists still struggle to explain. But before we dive into the science, the mystery, and the secret world of otters, let me take you somewhere quiet. Somewhere wild. Picture a floating blanket of kelp stretching across the ocean, a gentle breeze, waves nudging the surface like a heartbeat. And lying right there, on their backs, belly up, eyes closed, are a family of otters. Every single one is holding another's hand. This isn't an accident. It isn't random. It's deliberate, ancient, instinctive. And as we go deeper into their world, you'll see that hand-holding is just the beginning. Otters are tiny compared to the ocean around them. A single wave can push them a mile away. A current can separate them forever. Imagine going to sleep every night knowing you might wake up alone, unless you hold on to someone you trust with your life. That's so otters developed a rule. Don't sleep without holding hands. A rule passed down through thousands of generations. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all otters hold hands the same way. Mothers hold their pups differently from the way mates hold each other. Friends lock paws differently from siblings. Some grip tight, some intertwine fingers, some rest one paw gently on top as if guarding the other. These tiny differences reveal entire stories, entire relationships, and even emotional depth. Scientists used to believe otters had little social complexity, but once they began watching them closely, especially during sleep, everything changed. Because when otters sleep, they show their real personalities. Some are protectors always on the outside, paws spread wide, ready to shield their group from drifting. Some are followers, curling up quietly in the safest spot of the raft. Some are adventurers who float a little farther, always pushing boundaries. And some are heartbreakers. There have been documented cases of an otter losing its partner, yet still holding its paw open while it sleeps, as if waiting. For days, sometimes weeks, the ocean moves, the winds shift, the currents pull, but the paw stays open, hoping. If that doesn't prove that emotions exist far beyond our species, I don't know what does. But the story doesn't end with emotion. There's also incredible intelligence here. Otters don't just hold hands, they anchor themselves. Sometimes they wrap seaweed around their bodies like a seatbelt. They use kelp forests like natural beds. They create floating nurseries for their pups. And yes, they even bring their favorite rock with them. Not just any rock. Their tool. Their personal hammer. Every otter has one. They hide it under their arm, like a secret pocket. When they find a clam, they float on their backs, place the clam on the rock, and smash it open. It's one of the most sophisticated forms of tool use in the animal kingdom. So now imagine this, an otter holding hands with its mate, while also holding a rock it's had since childhood. A creature so small, yet carrying memories, tools, relationships, and rituals. But here's where the story gets even more powerful. Handholding isn't just about staying together, it's about belonging. Because in the wild, otters form what's called rafts. Not wooden rafts, living ones. Hundreds of otters, all holding hands, creating a massive floating community. From above, it looks like a woven rug. Brown fur, tiny paws, and shimmering water. Imagine 100 hearts beating on the same waves. Imagine 100 tiny hands, all connected. And yet, in this huge raft, every otter knows exactly who it's holding. They don't just grab any paw. They reach for a familiar one, a trusted one, just like humans do. Now, you might be wondering, do otters ever fight? Do they compete? Is this world as peaceful as it looks? The answer is no. Otter life is intense. They steal food. They chase each other. They fight for territory. They challenge rivals. But when the day ends, when the sun dips and the water cools, something incredible happens. The battles stop. The noise quiets. The splashing fades. And they hold hands. Because survival always beats rivalry. But here's the part of the story almost nobody knows. Otter pups can't swim. The most water-skilled animals are born helpless. So what does a mother do? She turns her own body into a life raft. She floats on her back, places the pup on her belly, and holds its tiny paws while teaching it how to float, how to navigate, how to trust the water. Sometimes she even blows air into the pup's fur to make it more buoyant, like inflating a tiny life jacket. That level of care is rare in the animal kingdom. And this may shock you. If a storm comes, if waves rise, if currents begin to pull them apart, mother otters scream. Loud, heartbreaking screams across the water. Because losing a pup, it means losing a part of themselves. This emotional depth is why otters holding hands hits us so hard. It isn't just cute. It's meaningful. It's ancient. It's primal. We recognize something in them. Something familiar. Something human. Maybe. That's why videos of otters holding hands go viral instantly. Maybe that's why millions of people watch them for comfort, for joy, for healing, because in a world where everything feels fast, disconnected, and chaotic, two little animals holding hands reminds us of something simple. No one wants to drift away, not us, not them. And that truth connects every species on this planet. But we're still not done, because the most powerful moment of all is this. Sometimes, when an otter loses its partner, other otters will approach it slowly, gently, and offer their paw. Not aggressively, not forcefully, just a soft invitation, as if saying, you don't have to float alone. This habit has saved lives. Literally saved otters from giving up. So when you see an otter holding hands, you're not just looking at animals, you're looking at love, connection, memory, safety, loyalty. You're looking at a behavior shaped by millions of years of evolution, thousands of storms, countless nights, and endless oceans. Handholding is not a cute moment. It is a survival strategy, a family bond, a romantic ritual, a safety net, a language, and sometimes, a lifeline. So the next time you see two otters drifting on the water, paws locked together, eyes closed, floating peacefully under the sky, remember this: they're not just sleeping, they're trusting, they're choosing each other, and they're teaching us one of the simplest lessons nature has ever written. Hold on to the ones who matter, because the world can pull you apart if you don't. But the story doesn't end where most people think it does, because behind that peaceful image of otters holding hands lies an entire universe of challenges they face every single day. And if you stay with me, you're about to see just how much strength is hidden inside those tiny bodies. As night falls over the water, the ocean becomes a different world. The moonlight turns every wave into silver. The temperature drops, the predators rise, and this is when the otter's bond becomes their shield. Sea lions patrol the edges of kelp forests. Sharks glide silently beneath. Even eagles circle above, waiting for a careless pup. But when otters hold hands, everything changes. A lone otter is vulnerable. A pair of otters is safer. A raft of otters, that's a fortress. Each connected paw sends subtle signals through the water. Tiny vibrations that warn the whole group. If danger approaches, no technology, no words, just touch. Think about that. Touch is their language. Touch is their alarm system. Touch is their map of the world. Humans speak thousands of languages, but otters speak with the simplest and oldest one on Earth. Contact. Now, imagine the moment danger actually arrives. A shark's shadow slices through the water. Beneath the raft, waves shift, currents tighten. But the otters don't scramble. They don't scatter. They hold tighter. Because panic separates you. Trust keeps you together. Some otters roll over to cover the pups. Some push toward the center of the raft. Some press their faces against each other as if whispering, stay calm. Stay with me. Don't let go. The shark circles. The otters wait. And most of the time, the shark moves on. Not because the otters are stronger, not because they can fight back, but because unity creates strength. Even predators don't want to challenge. This is something humans forget every day, but otters never do. Connection is power. And yet, even with all this bravery, the ocean still tests them. Storms come without warning. Winds slam the water. Waves rise like walls. For a creature that weighs no more than a big house cat, this is life or death. Picture an otter, mother in a storm. Rain pounding her face, waves crashing over her body, a newborn pup crying on her chest, and she absolutely refuses to let go of its tiny paws. She flips on her back. She uses her body as a shield. She tucks the pup under her chin. She rides the storm like a drifting boat. Hours pass. The storm grows. She drifts miles, but she never releases that tiny hand. And when the storm finally breaks, when the clouds open and sunlight touches the sea again, she's still floating, still holding her pup. Still fighting. That level of devotion doesn't exist everywhere in the natural world, but for otters, it's instinct. It's who they are. Now, let's look even deeper, beyond behavior, beyond emotion, into the biology that makes handholding possible. Otters have some of the densest fur of any animal on Earth. 1 million hairs per square inch. No air can pass through it. No water can reach the skin. It's like wearing a built-in life jacket. But here's where it gets fascinating. Their paws are the only part of their body without that thick fur, which means when they hold another otter's hand, they're touching skin, warmth to warmth, pulse to pulse. Life to life. That direct contact calms their heart rate. It synchronizes their breathing. It lowers their stress. Humans do the same thing. If you've ever held someone's hand during fear, pain, or uncertainty, your body changed instantly. Otters discovered this long before we understood it scientifically. But there's an even deeper layer. When otters hold hands, they share something called thermoregulation, maintaining the right body temperature. Cold water steals heat fast. A separated otter loses warmth. But two otters, linked together, stay warm twice as long. That's not just sweet, it's strategic. This brings us to one of the rarest, most touching behaviors ever filmed. Sometimes, when an old otter becomes too weak to swim or forage, you'll see a younger otter approach, gently take its paw, and help it float. Not for minutes. For hours. Sometimes, for entire days. Imagine that for a second. Creature fighting age, a body growing tired, a mind confused by the currents, and another otter silently saying, I've got you, lean on me, I'll keep you afloat. This is compassion. This is loyalty. This is care. In a world where survival is brutal and unforgiving, otters choose empathy. Not always, not perfectly, but often enough to change how we see them. Now here's something that will surprise you. Otters don't only hold hands with partners. They hold hands with siblings. Friends. Younger otters. Older otters. Even strangers. If the current is too strong and safety depends on unity, think about that. They don't ask who you are. They don't ask where you're from. If you're drifting, they reach out. Imagine a world where humans did the same, but as beautiful as their world is, it's fragile. Pollution threatens their waters. Oil spills coat their fur, destroying their natural buoyancy. Climate change reduces kelp forests, these very beds where they rest and hold hands. Every year, thousands of otters vanish because the world they depend on disappears inch by inch. And yet, even as their habitat shrinks, even as threats rise, they still hold hands, because instinct never gives up, because hope is wired into their DNA, because connection is their final defense. So when you see two otters holding hands, remember, this isn't just a cute moment captured for the internet. It's history. It's evolution. It's survival. It's a gesture that says, I'm with you. I won't drift away, and I won't let you drift either. But to truly understand the power behind otters holding hands, there is one last story you need to hear. A story that scientists, photographers, and locals along the Pacific coast still talk about. It begins with an old otter, known by the researchers as Gray Whisker. Gray Whisker had lost most of his strength. His fur had faded. His movements were slower. The currents pushed him harder than they used to. He was a veteran of storms, predators, and seasons that had shaped the ocean long before any camera captured him. But age comes for every creature, even the ones born to float. One quiet morning, as the fog curled over the water, Gray Whisker drifted farther from his group than usual. Not intentionally. He simply couldn't paddle fast enough to keep up. Inch by inch, the ocean pulled him away. Imagine the fear of watching your family drift into the distance. The water getting wider, your body getting colder, and the world around you growing silent. He wasn't calling for help. Old otters rarely do. They accept the ocean's judgment with dignity. But someone else noticed. A young otterhawk, Gray Whisker's age, strong, fast, curious, stopped paddling. She turned her head. She saw him drifting alone. And in a decision that surprised even researchers, she broke from her raft, dove into the current, and swam toward him. When she reached him, she didn't push or pull or force him back. She simply lifted her paw and offered it. Gray Whisker hesitated, exhausted. Then he raised his fragile paw and placed it in hers. And just like that, he stopped drifting. The young otter held him close. She anchored him with her entire body. Every few minutes she adjusted their position so the current wouldn't tear them apart. All day she stayed with him. All night too. The next morning, when the raft drifted back into the kelp forest, the young otter guided Gray Whisker toward them, still holding his hand. And when the others saw him, they opened spaces in the raft silently, respectfully welcoming him back. Gray Whisker spent the final months of his life floating safely in that raft, always surrounded, always held, never alone again. And the young otter, she never stopped holding his paw until the very last day. When researchers later described this moment, they didn't use scientific language. They said it looked like kindness. They said it felt like loyalty. They said it reminded them that even in the coldest waters on Earth, warmth can come from the simplest gesture. A hand, a touch, a connection. That's why otters hold hands. Not just to stay together, but to say, you matter, you're safer with me. We will face the water as one. And now, as the sun sets on this story, picture one final scene. A calm ocean, a golden sky, a raft of otters drifting peacefully, tiny silhouettes on a vast blue world, dozens of paws linked, some tight, some gentle, all connected. The world around them changes constantly. Storms, tides, seasons, dangers, but their message stays the same. Hold on to someone. Hold on through the Hold on through the storms. Hold on through the night. Hold on until the world feels safe again, because no one, no person, no creature, no heart wants to drift away alone. And that is the story of why otters sleep holding hands.